It is the Fantasy Rugby Yanks. My name is Jared Dyke. I wanted to say it's stupid and let's move on, but then you kept going.
I'm Ben Glauser. I don't like any way anybody handled that.
A collusion. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is the Fantasy Rugby Yanks. My name is Jared Dyke.
I'm Ben Glauser.
Welcome in. Yeah, nothing to talk about today at all. Nothing at all.
No, nothing too interesting happening. Kind of a boring time in rugby.
Boring weekend, boring week.
Right.
Nothing at all to talk about. Shit, we're gonna fly through this as much as possible.
We are.
Yeah, Premiership might be taking a back seat today.
It's really, except for the discussion about.
Yes, we'll get to that. But
what
like
the fuck,
the actual rugby is probably gonna take a back seat. And
yeah,
sorry, we're not gonna cover everything. I'm cracking my beer.
Okay, I am not beering because
yeah,
coaching
you gotta
later.
go coach. But obviously, download, rate, review, share on your favorite app. Feedback always welcome. Good, all that good stuff. In addition to beer, my beer, by our good friend Fantasy Rugby Geek George, him a coffee / beer, however you want to call it. He'll much appreciate it because things I think are about to get really weird in the next few weeks after this coming weekend, in terms of fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna get
grab onto your
fucking
seats
weird.
and keep your ears pinned to the ground, especially for what he's got to say. So give him some help.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. There is no discrimination here on this podcast, nor should there be in life or in sports. We had
There is.
Yeah, there is, and there's a lot of things we can pick out for this week as well, especially with like the Yates report the other week. A little bit of a fucking bullshit going on Twitter about women referees. But,
I saw that too.
Something more local for Ben and I, well, not local, but stateside at least, is the happenings at the LA City Council and people being found out that probably didn't want to be found out. Nobody wants to be found out.
Certainly,
but
yeah.
In these terms, definitely not.
Yeah. Well, one of them was in line. So Dianne Feinstein is one of the senators from California. And one of these people is like, "Ooh, you have a Free Jacks beer. Nice. Jealous."
Yeah, found that.
But one of these people is basically in line, because you know how these things work, in line to replace her. And just this recording came out of basically a bunch of city council members being incredibly racist, including minority members. It's fucking 2022, and these are in LA is obviously it's in California, it's a city, so it's pretty solidly Democrat. And yet these are Democrats that are, supposedly the good guys, because as Jared and I were saying, like, you could maybe count on one hand the number of Republicans who aren't like this, although you probably wouldn't need many fingers in that.
No, probably not.
But Democrats are supposed to be the team that's not like that. That doesn't, we're anti-racist and trying to build a better future for everyone. And yet here we are in 2022 with people actively working against, for racist causes against their own constituents, just based on race. And
yeah,
it's disgusting, flat out. And they're starting to resign, and they're starting to resign, and that's good. But come the fuck on. And there's another, like, I think one of the counselors they work for, like the press office or something like that of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, LA. And if you don't know about the LA Sheriff's Department, literally one of the largest and most dangerous armed gangs in the US. Like,
it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, they are. They are basically gangs. Like they will go and hurt, beat up citizens and worse, because they can. And it's like, of course, people like that would be supporting them too, because that's what it's all about.
What they do.
Yeah, it's just such a shitty situation when citizens really can't vote for people who aren't racist. Like, there's no way to vote for them. If you vote for a Republican, you're voting for a racist, or at least someone who will cater to racism.
Yes.
if the whole, there should be some organization that you can vote for that will not be like that.
Oh yeah, it's a no win. It's pretty shitty. It's pretty shite. So
yeah, don't do that. We're against that.
Yeah, don't be a racist prick.
Right.
Less depressing. Our Patreon, slightly less depressing.
We have other depressing things to get to. We'll get there shortly.
Yeah, slightly less depressing is our Patreon. Boom Bust is up for the week. I'm working on the rankings. I actually might have them out tomorrow, so we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I have all kinds of time for the sheet tomorrow, so hopefully I can get something going with
all kinds of time.
The scoring thing.
Yeah, we'll get something up, so there's not a lack of data anymore.
Right.
We have the data. We just got to process it all.
Yeah, I got to create the thing that does all that, and been busy between traveling to London and having a dude's weekend out in Western Mass this past weekend.
I have so many comments for that, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to keep it under my hat. All right.
What? Just a couple of guys broing out in the woods in a cabin.
I know, and there's no judgment on that. You can do whatever you want out there. I don't care. That is your business. That is your business, and I have zero judgment on that. But I just don't want to make comments just because I can poke fun at you. That's all. Anyway. Let's get into the really unfortunate shit, which is this happened in a matter of, if it felt a lot faster than Worcester, but Wasps being suspended. Maybe we were just so focused on Worcester that we didn't necessarily think about Wasps having this happen.
We'd heard rumblings about Wasps being problematic and that might go into administration, but there wasn't anything about potential suspension by the Prem. So that was kind of a shock. We were kind of hoping that if they want to do administration, it would be something that they could resolve fairly quickly and it would be over. Instead, they're just flat out suspended.
Yep.
And wow, that kicked up a notch.
Yeah, that turned ugly fast. Real ugly fast, and it now leaves us in a really shitty situation for a lot of reasons.
The Prem has to, and there's been all sorts of rumblings now from major English rugby, I don't know how else to describe it, but like people, because they're like, they've been around, they might not be active, but like personalities, and influencers and whatnot, like sort your shit out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and they just seem so they seem so unwilling to sort it out too, which is like
you have to figure that, like, you can't allow that. Like, this is bad. It's funny how we thought that the issues in MLR this past season, which we did end up discussing with the lads over in the UK, which was funny. Now, like, pale in comparison to what's going on in the Prem here, because fuck balls. Like, totally. They're just like, they need to have a different governing body than the RFU. If RFU is really just focused on the growing the game at the grassroots level, if you want to do that, and like obviously producing the national team, but professional side, including the national team, needs to have something that works better than this. And they got to like centralize things so that like there are open books and that teams that need help can get help, and before it gets to this.
Yeah,
and then we get into the there's the salary cap issue. Well, but like we kind of talked about it in our group chat too, and for the CYL, like, look at all these signings that these clubs are making, and whether is it to make their product better, or is it just to say, hey, we signed somebody? Like, Wasps signed 2 tight heads, some probably large deals, because they're Vincent Koch might be the best tight head in the world, or he's certainly up there in the conversation.
Yep.
And John Ryan's he's older, but he's no slouch.
No.
And did they really need a tight head prop, or did they need center? And they got Odendahl, but still, there's so much more that they needed, and probably could, or just didn't. They could have not spent that money, and maybe that would have helped them
right,
now.
or reinvested it into somebody
Right.
else,
Right.
not let somebody walk. Granted, they have some players that probably could have afforded to walk, but point being, you can reinvest it into somebody else, or you can extend a deal to someone.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot of really young talent.
Yeah.
There's a plethora of young talent throughout the whole entire league.
Right.
And I would, suggest at this point, at the bare minimum, these clubs need to go reinvest into those players, sign these players to longer term deals to
Mm-hmm.
one, keep them in the league, and two, keep them on their team. And that'll pay off more in spades for this league itself
Mm-hmm.
than signing, a John Ryan.
Right.
And I'm not trying to shit on John Ryan. He's a great player. He's a quality
Mm-hmm.
player.
It's unnecessary though.
Did he need to come here? I don't know.
Right.
I don't think so. I don't think he needed to be there. I think he could have gone to a number of places,
Mm-hmm.
really. And like you said, I don't think Wasps needed him. Uh, and as we were talking about with how to run a club, and there's a difference between running a club into extinction, like Wasps potentially have, or and running a club like Newcastle, where they don't spend anywhere near the cap because financially it doesn't make any sense for them specifically. And I'm okay with staying within yourself and all that stuff, but there is a line between the two of them, and I don't want to see us go lean so much that it's bare bones talent over there's no, it's not
No, but
one end or the other. There's a middle.
there's plenty of talent available. Like
Mhm.
even if sticking with Wasps, look at Frost. They pull him up like as a hooker because they kind of have to, and he just goes on a rampage, Archer
Yep.
style, and
Rampage.
like there's plenty of talent available, and they're not getting developed properly in some ways, but there's look at Worcester with all their talent, and that's not that was because not so much the administration and owners being shitheads, but the talent that they have, the young talent that they have, and that's why I always consider that more of a coaching failure than anything. But they're just running out player after player after player. Like Howe,
Mhm.
who signed with the Saturday, is like a try scoring machine, but can
Yep.
barely see the field. Every time he plays, he goes off, and yet he can barely see the field. Like there is talent out there if you're smart and can work towards getting it, instead of looking at a name and being like, "Ooh, I like that big shiny thing." Like manage your clubs better.
Right. I
The salary
think.
cap, and Exeter proved it right a couple years ago. And as much as I'm loath to give credit to Exeter, they won on a pretty shit budget. But even they're guilty of that, right? Like they're still playing Noel and Ian Witten when they have, like Hendrickson and
Yeah. And the
who
likes.
is that? Yeah, like they have who's that winger Hodge? Like they've got
Yes.
guys out there that just don't see the field who should be starting, and so there's plenty of depth. You don't need a big name, because ultimately the product won't make much of a difference.
Yeah. I mean, there's no product when you can't put a club on the field,
Right.
when you can't survive as a club. So I think that's the number one thing to kind of remember in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of situations with this. And yeah, back to Worcester, like I think Finn Smith was one of the smartest signings that Saints have ever had.
Yeah.
He's going to replace Dan Bigger going forward, and
Mm-hmm.
with their coaching staff and the way they like to play. And
Mm-hmm.
I listened to the interview he had. They had about a 5-minute interview with him on their website, and I
Mm-hmm.
listened to it, and he's excited to go and learn and learn
Yeah.
how to play this attacking Saints rugby that they've been doing, because it's number one, it's what the world wants for the
Mm-hmm.
most part,
Right.
with the exception of the weird few and far between, and that's fine. We'll leave them be.
Yeah.
And they've shown that they can develop talent. Saints are another club that's got bags of talent, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it they've developed. Yes, they've signed some, and there's no ignoring that.
Right.
But they've still got bags of talent, and their
But their
backline is
signings
absurd.
yeah, they have bigger, and that's okay. But like other than that, who's their big what truck? Augustus, and he was like
He was
not
not a big name that people were talking about when he came in.
right. You know, they try to bring in some players from Australia and this and that, and that's always kind of cool, but they're complementary. They're not like, hey, we're gonna rely on you and make you the centerpiece of our, and they can still throw the ball around um and do amazing things. So it's like these other clubs, and that's the other thing is you like I'm kind of surprised at Wasps that they're struggling because Wasps games are box office. They're a lot of fun, at least this year. Um,
Right.
like how
And they have been for quite a bit.
they have too, yes. So it's like, why are you struggling to fill that arena? You know, we
It's
both kind of have
probably too
Wasps
big,
Saints
number
on
one.
right now, and there's like nobody there, and
Yeah, it
it was
doesn't
a
look
great
good.
match.
It doesn't look good. The problem was, I mean, the problem's a lot of things going on with the arena itself. And I I know in the most basic terms, as I understand it, they did a lot of pissing off of the locals with the way they went about getting that arena under them.
Mm,
And that didn't do them any favors. And when the pandemic hit, because they were giving away tickets, and that's fine. You know, I have
yeah,
no problem with a few tickets to give away. That does you a lot of good in a lot of
it
ways.
does.
But
Yep.
once the pandemic hit, obviously they could no longer give those away because it didn't financially make sense. Certainly to not the same extent they were giving them, and then that obviously leads to a much less filled arena. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's you gotta put butts in seats in an arena that is appropriate size for you. And we
Mm-hmm.
saw we saw an example in person with Harlequins, like fairly packed out stadium, not overly big in number of seats that are available, but
Mm-hmm.
packed out stadium, and that was a fun
Yeah,
atmosphere.
it was.
And anything like that beats the
Mm-hmm.
hell out of the CBS arena, where they probably have a good number of people in it, but it looks half empty. It's no good.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that's no good. So there's a many prong attack to go with this whole thing, between
Right.
how to take care of rugby in general, this league specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and then club by club. And
Right.
it's it starts with getting, and for me, and one more note, and then we'll move on. Because we could go at this for a good 2 hours probably if
Obviously.
we wanted to.
Yeah.
Um, for me, people like Massey Taylor, I'm not impressed with. He's a puppet at this
No.
point.
Right. Well, I don't
I
know if he's a puppet or just fucking a muppet.
Yeah, maybe both. I don't know, but I'm not impressed with him. So if he's going to be your face, you need to
Mhm.
sharpen him up a little bit. And a name that a few of us know at this point, what's his name? Paul Morgan, whatever his name is. He's got to go.
Mhm.
He's useless. He's useless. That is in terms of like who interacts with people when it comes to social media stuff, especially.
Mhm.
That is not a friendly face right now.
Right.
I see that name and I'm like, oh, what is this
Fuck
idiot
that.
saying?
Yeah. What's this
And
helmet got to
I
say?
know there's others that feel that way too. So
Mhm.
he's got to go. Like whatever pictures he has that's preventing people from firing him, just
Right.
deal with it and fire him. Okay,
Right. Because
he's
you know
not.
what, the people
Yeah,
who's got pictures of need to bite the bullet because they got to go too. So
yeah. Maybe they
like,
should go too.
a
So
lot of people got to go
everybody goes out with that one
because
on
there's
on the sweep.
there needs to be better leadership of the Prem, the RFU, everybody
Totally.
involved. Like you
Yeah,
do better
I think
because the
I
game
think it
needs the
was.
game needs it. How
Yeah,
can
I
you
think it
be
was
that like?
either
How,
Mullins
yeah.
or Ali Eakin that said something about like
Mhm.
we need leadership now, and I totally
Right.
agree with that. And I don't see either one of them as leaders, so
No.
maybe that's my biggest problem with both of them.
Yeah.
So poo,
Mm.
and poo some more.
Hmm.
Ugh. Well, but hopefully things in the end do find a way to work out for Wasps, and we know that we've got fixtures to move around now, because I was just looking at them earlier. Um, so at this point, Gloucester have 2 official games right now that they'll be down for, because if assuming Wasps get removed from the schedule. London Irish have 3 official games. The only team that's played 5, all 5, and will have them count, is Leicester right now. Everybody else has played 4 for one reason or another, whether they played Worcester already, they've played Wasps,
right,
or they have their actual bye.
Week. Yeah.
So after this weekend's too late to fix it, obviously, but
right.
I don't envy the people that are inside that office that have to rejig that. And then we have Champions Cup and Challenge Cup that need to be rejigged because these clubs were in that competition, and you would assume that they're not participating in that. So I also think this is a whole nother can of worms to open another day, with Wasps leaving and Worcester being sent down and Wasps being sent down. I think this brings about another time where we need to maybe re-look at the Champions Cup format and go back to the old one. And I know there's a lot of things that the current one brings that are good, but there's a lot of stuff that's bad. And right now it doesn't work with the number of teams the Premiership has. So you can't have 8 teams out of an 11 team league going to Champions Cup. Like that really doesn't work. No, you're going to end up with 3. You're going to end up with 2 really crappy teams, more than likely,
at least.
So it's no good. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that as well. Again, big can of worms to open on that one. We won't attack that today. Not today. Not today, Satan. Okay. Oh man, let's go to something way better. Way better. And well, I guess depends on who you are. But opening weekend of the Rugby World Cup, which is without a doubt the most exciting thing. One note that somebody had, and I thought was actually a really good thing for people to kind of just remember, there was 1 HIA this weekend.
Right.
1.
Just 1.
1. So behavior can be changed. It's just a matter of how dumb are you and how bad of a coach are you?
Right.
Yeah, it really is.
And no shortage of hard hits. I mean,
oh no, some girls got melted.
Fall was just wreck, and that France South Africa match was just brutal. Like that. I mean, I guess we can start there because that was the first match.
That's the first match, yeah.
Just like South Africa playing very South African rugby, and yeah, that France obviously it kind of outclassed them, but that's because South Africa are building. But they have that South African power down. That's for sure.
Yes, that is unquestionable at this point. Right. I would say
the aggression is there. But France were just dangerous, all over the place. Just the speed, the power when they needed it, like just really played that game very well.
The French scrum half Sansa is just like otherworldly right now compared to a lot of people. So speaking of the French team, though, there was I think it was World Rugby magazine or something like that. Whatever it was, they put out a 15 of the week, and it had no French players. It had 1 American and it had 1 South African player. I was like, I don't think you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I really don't think you know what you're doing.
No,
because that's pretty bad.
Right.
But in any case,
Ménager played well.
Yes.
Obviously Sansus played well. Caroline Duran was fantastic.
Was good. Yep.
What else are you gonna say? Like, but I think that's also kind of a credit to South Africa for the defending as well as they did. I mean, I know it's a 40-5 match, but this could have been double that if
easily
if South Africa were unprepared, were really unprepared, and didn't play the type of defense that they did. So yeah, well, credit to South Africa for really kind of stifling France's attack.
This was interesting up until 10 minutes to go.
Right. That's when it kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
So
I will say this was interesting because the second half came on, and I was like, all right, the first team to score has got to be the South Africans, and if this game's going to stay interesting, and it was, but the quality and the depth and just the experience of France eventually overtook them in those last 10 minutes, and Drouin and Gruseg both got over, and that was the end. It's like, and there goes that. It's a good showing for South Africa in a lot of ways. Makes teams probably not want to play them, certainly not excited to play them, just because that physicality beats you up very, very much so.
It does.
And it does take a toll. But it's growing. So we like growing. It's always good. But yes, France are quality, and to say, and we expect them in the knockout unquestionably. Yeah, speaking of expecting to go to the knockout, England and Fiji. We won't spend too much time on this. The first half was interesting because the Fijians were able to take advantage of a couple of opportunities and dot down. And 24-14 at half is certainly respectable. And somebody said that this is only Fiji's 6th test match together or something like that. I was like,
wow,
holy shit! Yeah, no wonder they're gonna get. And yeah, of course they got pumped afterwards. I was like, duh.
It kind of it fell apart. They could only stay in it for so long, and they, I mean, their athleticism, their ball movement was excellent. It's just that England are that good.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, put it this way, and we'll get to the US in a bit. I like both of these losing teams that we've talked about already, Fiji and South Africa. I really wouldn't be comfortable if the Eagles were playing them.
No, for their own different reasons. Yes,
right.
I agree.
Because holy cow, were Fiji dangerous. But just it was the class of England that just made it look that that bad.
Yeah, and this was, and you could see what the Fijians were going for, and the passes, and they're playing their very own way, which was great. A lot of these women played for the Fijian team in Super W as well, so that's good. Or they played for the Fijian Sevens team, which is also good. So there is some, to say there's no experience here is wrong, but obviously the gap is still very big between England and Fiji. But they tried to stay true to their identity, which is something I really, really appreciate. And the more they do it, the more matches they get with this together, the more those fun passes are going to stick, and then that's going to turn into some real fun stuff to watch. So I can only hope that comes through in the end. Of course,
we'd be remiss if we didn't say how great it was to see Abby Dow score a try.
Oh God, yes. Thank God. I was, when talk about a race against time with her and the leg break, and oof. It was like, ooh, that's not good.
She's back. She's ready. That's awesome.
Yes,
that's good for her.
Yeah, I couldn't have been happier for her, because
although Claudia McDonald did okay.
Oh God, was it 4 or 5?
4.
4. Sheesh. Yeah. Oh yeah, one more right near the end.
Right.
Yep. But this became a kind of a meaningless exercise after a certain point. I think it was about the 60th minute. I was like, this game's over.
Yep. That was
started doing my.
I mean, it was over before that. Yeah, it was kind of like, after the second try or so in the second half, it was like, no, this is over.
Yeah, I started making breakfast and just kind of had this on in the background. After that, I was like, it's breakfast time. And then the match of the day, unquestionably, I would say, and the scoreline does not do it justice. No, the Wallaroos and the Black Ferns, and what an atmosphere.
Yes.
What an atmosphere it was at Eden Park for this game. It was awesome to see this go on, and
that haka.
Yeah, the haka the Black Ferns laid down was phenomenal, and
the crowd reaction. That was like fucking serious business right there.
It sends shivers down one spine.
Right. Yeah, just like the whole that right from the start, I was in. I was watching this while while I'm trying to do work, but at the same time, I was like, okay,
good luck with that.
Let me stop for this haka, and then just to see, and then I was like,
It was a poor
No, I
decision
gotta
on your
stick
part.
around. Yeah.
It was a poor decision on your
Okay. I
part.
mean, yeah. I'm in. There's no getting away from this now. Um, and Australia just coming out the 17 straight points. Um, no backing down from Australia.
Mm-mm.
Just setting that was a hell of a response to that kind of haka too. Like we're coming out firing, scoring,
Right.
13 and getting 16 minutes in. Like, okay. Like they
Yeah.
showed me a lot too.
Hmm. And this was their third time playing this team in
Mhm.
inside of what, 2 months?
Yeah. So, they kind of
That
knew what was
helps.
coming, but yeah, it's one thing to kind of know what to expect. It's another to score that, 17 straight on New Zealand is not an easy feat. On any New Zealand team. Um,
Right. And
and
I
then and it
noticed
really was the two yellows in the one sequence that I think
definitely,
was the game.
definitely.
That
Well,
was about it.
and even before that, I noticed. So I was noticing like New Zealand was trying that tip on, and it just wasn't
Mm-hmm.
coming off. And shortly, I think it was shortly after the second or the third try went over, they decided, all right, let's conserve for just a little bit, and they stopped doing the tip on for just about 10 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
And they started to get a better platform. They started to go forward more. They started to get better ball and quicker ball. And
Mm-hmm.
then they started to open that back up again, which I thought was a good tactic change for them in that 10 minutes or so. So whether that was down to the coaches or the captains, either way, very
Mm-hmm.
good stuff from them. And then Ruby Tui, like I think her book's on my porch. Like I can't wait to cut into it. It's gonna be great. But uh, if there's someone you can cheer for, it's got to be her because she's just such a great. And we talk about rugby being in trouble and stuff like that. It's personalities like her that we need to push to the front and
Certainly.
put her out there and make her a thing if you want, because she's a superstar to those of us that watch the game,
Mm-hmm.
but she's not a superstar in the world, and she could be.
Right.
She
And
really
all
could
you have to
be.
do is listen to her. Like, take a cue from professional wrestling. Interviews matter, and
Mm-hmm.
being that personality, being that willing to go and be open and honest and positive and excited. Like all those things. That's infectious. Excitement and enthusiasm are infectious. And she has both of those and can project it really well.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have that enthusiasm um and can't pull it off as far as expressing it to others and making it kind of coherent, because like a Ray Lewis type who has a lot of enthusiasm, but what the
Never
fuck
makes
did you just
sense when he
say?
comes out.
Yeah.
No. Dude,
um
can you repeat that? I have no idea what you just said.
right. And then there's plenty of people who can talk a lot and present themselves well but have zero enthusiasm. You
Mhm.
need people like Ruby Tui who have both and bring that engagement, because you can't help but smile when she's talking about the sport and talking about the game.
Yeah,
Um,
her love for
mhm,
her teammates, her
right,
country is just so obvious, and the impassioned anthems of all the countries this past
right.
weekend was just so great to see, and that this is test level rugby at its finest, and this is exactly what we got, and it's
Right.
just oh
And I think we both are fawning over Stacey Fluler in person is really what inspired her to such a great performance
yeah.
too.
She looked a little scary during that hockey.
She did. Holy
I
shit.
showed it to the high school girls, and they were
Yeah.
all just like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "I met her. She's actually not that crazy, but she
Right.
looks
No.
pretty pissy here, right?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I met her. She's actually very nice, but
Right.
that looks very scary." Love it. The intensity,
Hmm.
man. That's what it is going to be for them, especially for the Black Ferns. It is going to require some serious intensity for them to go all the way to the final and potentially,
Hmm.
win a home World Cup. So
Yeah.
a lot of pressure on them, and they're gonna need that intensity. So gotta love it from the players, and it's this is two things. One, New Zealand might be back. We don't know yet,
Hmm.
but they certainly put their hand up again.
Appear to be.
And Australia are somebody to be taking very, very seriously going
Hmm.
forward. So just everybody hold on to your hats.
Yeah.
Pool A is going to get real rocky real quick. I have a feeling. And then Sunday. Oh, oh, this is frustration at the minimum for me. And it's I have two issues personnel wise with the US. You obviously we're talking about US and Italy. First game from Sunday. I have two issues personnel wise. One is Nikki James not doing it for me. I don't get what the commentators are saying. I'm like, nope. Like the scrum penalty that Hope Rogers won. I was like, nope, that was all Hope Rogers. I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. And Rob Kane saying she's such a great scrummager. I was like, she's shit.
No, she's not.
She's garbage. She's garbage.
And there was another time where she just like she was the clear support in a run and like kind of stood there while the tackle was made. And
I saw that.
And then the opposition just comes in and takes it, and she's like, "Oh, I guess it's my turn to ruck." And it's like, they're on it before.
Way too slow.
She's just standing there watching it, and I'm like, I get it, they're big, right? But you look at again. I think I'm sure I've said it before. You look at the props who are on like the other teams, and they're much more fit. They're much more effective. They don't get their ball stripped by wings. Hope Rogers. They play rugby. These are just fucking like the US team is a bunch of gym rats who happen to play on a field with a rugby ball. Like I get Hope Rogers and Nick James are strong. They're not very fit. The rest of the team is kind of strong and fit, but doesn't know what the fuck they're doing with a rugby ball at all. Like, and that was like, you look at that, and that was the difference in this match is that Italy were able to move the ball around, play open, support them, their players in open field, like, run a switch line, but then be in support if it's a dummy, instead of just being like, oh, they didn't get the ball, so I'm just going to stop and kind of not sure, thumb up my ass kind of thing. Like it's too, there's got to be better coaching at this level. And it's just not happening.
And with all that, this match still could have been different if Alev Kelter had the tee. Gabby Cantorna should not have the tee. Period. No. End of story. She missed one right in front. Right in front. And that would have given us the lead the second time. And who knows what at that point. And obviously Italy still scored plenty of more points, but it still can change the game, something like that, It's
a mental thing. So, if you can't even hit a penalty kick right in front or whatever, a kick from right in front, there's the other team's like, oh, cool, we can do whatever the fuck we want. We can get penalties and we don't have to worry about you hurting us that way. Whereas all of a sudden you hit a kick, from that's moderately difficult, and suddenly the other team has to be like, okay, now we have to think about what we're doing because we can't be stupid.
Absolutely.
It'll hurt us.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. If you bring a backup hooker to an international World Cup tournament and your starting hooker is shit, and I'm sorry, Kitlinski couldn't fucking hit a throw to save her life, bar one or two.
Right.
You need to make that call and say, all right, I'm bringing on my backup. If you don't have the confidence in it, what the fuck are you doing with that person there?
Right.
Or why aren't you coaching better? One of those two things is true. Maybe both. I don't know. Right. So that was a real annoyance for me.
How Trader didn't see the field, how Tess Fury didn't see the field. I don't understand that. I mean, and we've talked about Kelter being at 15 rather than at 13 where she should be.
I can live with that, but all those other things being altered, I think the match is different. I think Kelter getting the ball, like she did get the ball more from 50. I think she was more involved in attack, but not. It still was a little bit forced, and she was going from way too deep to have to come onto it. And when you don't have much attack, like you need your attacking players to be around the ball. I thought so for the US. I thought the entire back row was good. Jacoby, when she came on, she had energy. She was fucking busy. So I love to see that. Somebody I harped on before, but I think she either listens to me or somebody got to her. Olivia Ortiz's footwork was much better as I noticed it. Like, got it and got rid of it. I was like,
Mhm.
all right, that's what I've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
So now I at least feel confident that we have 2 quality 9s. So that's not a problem for me. But, and on the flip side, I don't want to completely ignore the Missouri because they did play a hell of a match.
Mhm.
They had to make a late change and they had an early injury, and they responded extremely well to to the whole thing. And Franco was she was annoying to say the least. I was like that, and I was like, oh, it's her again. It's her again. Fuck.
Yep.
Every freaking time.
Quality like, okay, 7-ery right there.
Yeah, super duper. Solari, I thought was great at the outside 13 channel there. I thought she was great, and she was good off the tee on top of it, which helped.
She was.
Yeah. So Italians rightfully won this match, no question in my mind. There was, there's a lot missing from the U.S. team, and I'm actually still scared of what the hell's going to happen with the Japan match this weekend. I really am, and that's not awesome.
And that's before we get to Canada. Like,
yeah, there's still that part. So, and as I understand it, it might be, it might not be. It's 1 through 8, and I think they just seed them like the top 3. They'll seed the 3 pool winners. They'll seed the 3 runners up, and then the final 2 third place finishers. So if you're the U.S., I think it's really fair to say the likelihood is 1 and 2 are going to be England and New Zealand, whatever order that is, whatever. If you're one of those 2 third place teams, that's who you're getting in the quarterfinals. So,
good luck.
If that's how it's laid out, which I think it likely is, I want to avoid that third place spot right now. Okay. Right now, we're technically holding one of them. I'd like to hold a runner's up spot at best. So, or at worst, I should say. And hopefully somehow we can still win the goddamn group. I have no idea what that looks like. First things first, take care of Japan and then figure it out from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was Italy putting their hand up again. Shocker of the day. Yeah, let's go to Canada now. Japan and Canada. This might flatter Japan a little bit, actually. I think Canada missed some opportunities, if I'm honest.
I wouldn't. I couldn't get to see this one or the next one.
I did, and I thought the Canadian women looked superb. And there comes a point where the speed is great, but if you don't have the strength to go with it, you get bowled over. And that, I think Canada figured that out early.
Yeah.
Or at least to a point, and they used it well.
That's always been a thing that has long been a thing for Japan. It's getting better now, at least for the men's side. The women, I obviously have a little room to catch up.
Right, and I appreciate that they try and play a similar style. They want to play some fast stuff. They want to play open, but you have to have the physicality on defense to match it, and also at the contact area, at the the breakdown area, you have to be able to match that as well. Didn't have it, in my opinion, in any means whatsoever, and the Canadian women just figured it all out. Sophie Goody is goody.
She's very good. And Totosi had a hat trick in 50 minutes. So were those all maul tries, or were they like
one of them was not.
Okay.
One of them was not. The other 2 were.
Okay.
So she did have one open field one.
That's nice.
And she did look generally good overall. So I'll give her that. Yeah, Canada scares me right now, and I know we beat them in a little bit over the summer. But I'm now like seeing what I've seen out of both teams in recent weeks. Scares me a bit. Just gonna say that. So I think, hopefully we don't have to dive too much further into anything about Rob Kane, and we can beat Japan as the Eagles can beat the Japanese. But yeah, I'm still terrified. I'm still terrified. And then we go to the match of the weekend, unquestionably in my mind, which was Wales and Scotland. And Wales had a whole 3 points in the second half, but it was at the right time and in the right place.
Right.
Oh man, this was intense. This was so tense, right down to the wire. Jazz Joyce got a yellow card at the end of the game. That hurt him. Trying to think of who the other yellow card went to, but either way, it was like,
Hope the prop.
yes, that's who it was. Oh yeah, because I think it was a scrum penalty that she kept giving away.
Mm.
So it was no good. It looked great, all rosy for Wales first half. No problems, smooth sailing. Scotland kind of just couldn't get out of their own way. And then the Scots woke up, and the players that stood up for the Scotland team were names that you and I know quite well, and I hope more people now know them. But like Conkle, Bonner, Malcolm, Skeldon. I thought Skeldon played terrific, a terrific match. Chloe Raleigh, Ronald Lloyd, Gaffney, they were all superb, especially in that second half. Coming after it, it was man, and there was a double whammy. Unfortunately, Butcher's on the break. I think it was Joyce on her hip. All she's got to do is give it, and Joyce is over the line. And this is no longer even a question. This is definitely Wales's match, and she ate it. And unfortunately, I think on top of it, she's now going to miss out on the rest of the World Cup because the tackle was very awkward, and I think she did her knee.
Oh,
I was like, oh, that looked like a knee, and I think it was. I was like, oh man. Either way, I think she's missing the rest of the World Cup, which sucks. But in the end, they got what they do, like 22 phases at the last.
Wow.
In the last passage of play, Wales did, and Bevan knocks the penalty over, and I was like, it was good all the way out. I was just like, that was a good kick. That was a really good kick at that. So it was this was a great game. This is a great game. This is a great advert for the game and for women's rugby. And both teams should be proud. And I hope both nations are very proud of the way they stood up, because this was I was having fun watching this match.
Yeah,
I was supposed to be doing work. I was supposed to be doing work, and I couldn't take my eyes off it.
Yeah, this is one where it's still on my list. I know usually I don't watch matches after we do the pod, unless something.
Go
awesome,
watch it. Go watch
this one. You're right. This one is going to be one of the ones where I'm definitely going to go watch it.
Yeah, go watch this one for sure. All right. Well, got a little bit of time, so we'll dive into what happened over in the Premiership. That we can.
Yeah,
that we can, because this past weekend would have still been one of the Worcester weekends as well. So we had a couple extra teams off, unfortunately, or an extra team off. I don't want to spend too much time on these. Bristol and Exeter, poor defensively from Bristol.
What are Bristol now? Like I don't know what to do with them. They're in gotta see it territory now.
Yeah, they really are.
Maybe it'll help when Red Raja is back.
But it can't be. It can't rely on one player though.
But that's kind of a glue thing. Like they've got all these. They do have decent players. It's just not coming together.
Yeah,
they're just so disjointed.
I'm pissed at Toby Fricker. He probably cost them 2 tries. Honestly.
Yeah.
Learn how to pass, you stupid fuck.
Right. That's true. He was very selfish.
He bottled 2 of them. I was like, oh, you idiot. And I would melt him if I was the coach. Yeah. And I was like, you freaking dope. If it was my teammate, maybe not the coach, but if he was one of my teammates, I'd absolutely freaking rinse him out.
Right.
Really bad. And then at the end, they just kind of, unfortunately, here's the bad part. At the end, they just kind of gave up.
They did.
Which is the thing that Pat Lamb's probably going to kick their ass the most about.
Yeah.
Certainly would be what I would be pissed about the most, is like, listen, in those last 10 minutes, you guys quit. And that is what would absolutely 100% annoy me as a coach and as a fan.
They gave up what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tries in the last 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Just
5 tries. Like, yeah, no, unacceptable.
Totally. I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, it's sad because this was a team I was excited about, and
me too. And they're just kind of,
I'm not so excited about it no more.
And and I like Exeter. I don't think they were too much to write home about. They scored. I mean, what the Cowan-Dickey try was off the intercept, and like the Noel tries were walkovers. Like when we're talking about Jack Noel scoring multiple tries, it's that kind of game. Yeah, you gave up.
Yeah, you guys messed up. Way to go.
Yeah.
Way to go. Something maybe worth a little bit more of our time. Bath and Gloucester. Good match overall. Gloucester have kind of haven't really got a chance to get going because they've had so many off weeks.
Right.
So they're in it now.
Instant starts. Yeah.
They're in it now though. I said it in my column. I fucking hate Ben Meehan now. I don't know if I mentioned that like to that extreme. I find him extremely annoying. Like he's a little pissant to this point, and the card was just like icing on the cake. I was like, "Fuck you, dude! Like you're not even that good where you can be a pissant and at least win over some respect. Like you're shit, and you're a pissant on top of it all.
I didn't see what he did. I mean, I didn't because
he's just a general annoyance all around. And I know nines tend to be that way, but he is just he's over the edge in terms of what's acceptable for a nine to be a little turd. So
for me, is he going into FAF territory?
Getting up there. I mentioned him in the same sentence in my column. So
yeah, there we go.
Yeah, he's on my shit list. So that's definitive. So yeah, fuck him. I hope Charlie Chapman plays a lot more because this guy's really getting on my nerves.
Yeah, and Chapman's better anywhere.
I think so too. I also think so too. For Bath.
And that's actually kind of the thing we were talking about earlier with Chapman, Ben Meehan is a name, right? He's played international. I think he has, right?
No, he hasn't.
No, he hasn't. Okay.
He's never played international.
I thought he had. Anyway,
age grade maybe, but that's it.
Yeah. But just kind of, outside of the shit housery, he's kind of your average scrum half. Whereas Chapman is like young and fiery and can go. And coaches are relying more on the steady hand rather than the live wire. Like we're seeing that, obviously in Leicester too. We have Jack Van Poortvliet, and there's so many young players that are playing a more aggressive and entertaining style of rugby, and coaches are not going with it. So
right,
less me and more Chapman, please,
and the likes. For Bath, a guy that I'm really excited to have back in form and that looks like he's gonna be a problem for defenses. And
Miles Reed,
no, him too. I'm very excited. He looked great. Coca, Joe Coca-Nasinga.
Yes. Yes, he's a problem.
Him in full form and full flight. That's what form looks like, folks. Not just because you're healthy, but you are healthy and you are doing damage and you are busy. And he is busy. And he's also a big boy on top of it all, which means he, if he wants to go into that 12 channel and try and take a crash ball, he can do it. And he's got the speed to get away if he's free. So it's really terrifying for defense.
He's like really slightly smaller, much more fit Nadolo there. Like,
yeah, he can go because he can usually go the distance as well.
Right. Yeah, yes, exactly. He can play 80.
Always helpful. And we just, in a lot of ways, I thought Bath had this, and they just found ways to bottle it left, right, and center, which is really disappointing.
Yeah, they're not ready yet, but there's a lot to like there. There's so much to like with Bath. That they're scoring tries, they're moving the ball around. Yeah, there's good stuff, but they got to start turning that into wins.
Yeah, they got, and I
135 points scored. Let me see that. That's ahead of one, and I'm not accounting for games played, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're ahead of 6 teams in terms of points scored, and they've played 5 matches. Yes, some of those other teams have only played 4, but they're scoring points. They just gotta not be last in the league in points against, which they are.
Yeah, that's
the problem they got to sort out. Yeah, the points for is good though. That's a step forward from last year.
Certainly, and I really hope we see more Orlando Bailey and less. And I like Pierce Francis. Let's push him back, and maybe he is the cover at 10. But let's let Orlando Bailey has earned it from last year. And I know this is a new coach, but still, like looking back to last year, I feel like Orlando Bailey should have this 10 shirt at this point and be given a little bit more freedom to make some mistakes. And, because I think when he's firing, he's going to produce some really fun stuff. So
and you can always do the Gopper thing and put Francis at at 12 if you wanted to. I know you have Ojomo and there's all sorts of people there, but that's every so often you can slot him in there and just
That is an
give
option. Yeah.
give Bailey, because he can play 12. He played 12 very well with the Saints.
Mhm.
So that's an option just to give Bailey and have a coach out in the field with him too.
Right. Right. Agreed. Let's jump over to Welford Road. Sale and Leicester. A combination of messages come out of this for me. Leicester aren't what they were, and we know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is somewhat safe to say at this point with this match. And Sale might have something cooking. I mean, they're not. And there's some good parts of their games, some parts of the games where I'm like, yeah,
right.
But they are. There's a certain player that's going to make them very, very watchable for going forward as long as he's available, and that's Rafi Quirk.
Right.
Like 40 minutes of Rafi Quirk is totally worth watching that match. Like that's like, here comes Rafi. All right, this is the part that I was waiting for. And yeah, he's worth the price of admission, folks.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a guy to watch and set up a try, scored a try. Like, yeah, I love it. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does the rest of the season, and hopefully he gets picked for England as well. But yeah, that dude's awesome. And
well,
like,
he made in front of him
Tom Curry look good.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
in terms of attacking sense.
Right.
Says a lot.
It does. It's hard to make him look like an attacking player. So
yeah,
well done.
But so he's great. And we saw Sale last year with these young, spry, and very lightning wings with Roebuck, Aaron Reed. We saw Luke James turn into it, and now you get to add Tom O'Flaherty into it, and you get to add Joe Carpenter into it as well, who both have looked very, very good since getting into the first team for Sale. So in terms of that, like, honestly, their centers don't do much. They don't need to with those guys, though. With those guys on the outside, they don't need to. Just hold your water and don't fuck up. Like, period. Those are the only things you two need to do in the middle. Don't do much. And for whatever reason, Robert Dupree has found a way to attack. I don't know how, but he has. So
right. Well, I don't know where this Robert Dupree came from, but stick around, please.
This is an impersonation, I swear, because it's not the one we've seen certainly in the last couple of years. I don't think. No. So yeah, just look. There are good things to like about Sale. Who knew? I still want to slap John Ross every time I see him, but I'll try and ignore that in favor of the rest of the stuff. And for Leicester, they went for penalties a lot. Some of which were way out, so I don't blame them. But they're going to have to find ways to get over the line here, because especially with like Jasper was back, he muscled his way over. You have Julian Montoya back, like, use him.
Right.
That lineout maul was key to their success last year, and he's not gone. I know Genji is, but he's not gone. He's still just as good at getting this thing over. Like, don't get away from that. I wonder, and Harry Potter looked good this weekend, and wasn't sure we were going to see that this year, and he did. And there's still lots to like about what this Leicester team has. They're not gelling well, and a little bit of personnel selection issue in my book, and then a little bit of just like sometimes not knowing the left, not knowing the right's doing.
Right.
And just neither's great. Neither's great. So yeah, Steve Worthwick, let's see how good of a coach you are, because
that's got it. I've been harping on him a little bit about his coaching.
Right. And I discussed that whole thing with friend of you and I, Ollie, and he said, yeah, I know everybody wants him as like the next England coach, but let's wait and see if he can do it again. Yeah. Right now, the answer is not good. So, just throwing that out there. Don't need to spend too much time up in the tune here. It was 26-0 at halftime, and it wasn't quite all she wrote, but it was up there.
But that's because of the red card and all that. But
right, and Mako got 3 weeks. Could go down to 2 because if he takes a course. That's his first ever red. That is his first ever red card.
which is that's okay. I kind of am
Gentle
surprised to
giant.
hear that, but yeah, he's as physical as he is. That's what happens. You miss a little bit,
He missed a lot.
or you miss a lot.
He missed
But
a lot.
yeah,
He knew he fucked up. He's like,
right.
I am in so much trouble, aren't I? Yes, you
No,
are. Yes,
no.
you are, you big dumbass. Although, with that whole incident, there's another 9 that's officially on my shit list, and I'll never call him anything other than Mickey, and that's Mickey Young.
Oh
He
yeah.
wants us. Even Wayne Barnes doesn't give him the respect of Michael. He calls him Mickey still, which
Yeah.
was awesome to hear. I was like, yeah, see, there's a reason that you haven't been called Michael yet, because nobody likes you. And
Right.
he didn't outright punch Mako on the floor, but it was goddamn close. And I was like, dude, I know he freaking fucked up and did something, but like the reaction to try and punch a dude while he's on the floor is just absolute bullshit.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, if Mako gets a hold of you, Mickey Young, he's gonna eat you. So
Yeah.
just remember that.
Right.
Just remember that before, and God knows he'll be the type to take a swing and then step back and let the big guy step in front of him. Like,
Of course.
that's exactly what he would do. So fuck him. Anyway, yeah, rugby was fantastic. Elliot Daly looks like he's having fun again, which is only bad news for defenses and good news for Saris. A bit of a change, a few changes here. Jinx is obviously out. Willie got the day off. Capelli, Piffaletti, plug and play, no big deal.
Right.
And he's had his bad days too. So I'm not saying Piffaletti's going to be, any sort of major league answer. It's still Willie going forward. But I think Piffaletti should be the second though.
Right. Going up to the tune, you're fine with Piffaletti at hook
as your starter. Yep.
Too much.
Yep, I agree. So, real good stuff from the boys in black. Josh Hallett gets minutes, which is great. Another guy I hope that we get to see more minutes getting put into him.
Another young guy, holy shit, academy guy who scored on his debut. Like this, you can't score on debut if you get hidden on the bench or at least in reserves for forever. Like get him out there, warm up. I mean, yeah, I'm not talking about obviously in this match, but his debut earlier this year. But yeah, get him more opportunities. You have the team around, like trust the guys around him that can lift him up, and Saris will do that. So, maybe other teams should start looking into stuff like that too.
Right. Yeah, agreed. Let's see. He has played a couple matches in the past, but not many.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 1, 2. Yeah, he's only got 3 matches before this year.
Oh, okay, so maybe not debut, maybe starting debut, I guess.
Yeah. It was still good.
Right.
Yeah, still good to see a young player out there for the series, and hopefully that's somebody that they can lean on more going forward, and they can let somebody like Duncan Taylor walk after this year.
Yeah.
Don't need him no more. No respect, no disrespect to him, but
right. But he's not what he used to be.
Oh, definitively not. God, the Premiership site is so fucking annoying. Like I'm trying to go into the Wasps and Saints game, and the report's not there. Like, dude, this is a problem.
Report wasn't there for Saturdays and
no, it wasn't there either. But they at least had the overview of it, so I could kind of look at recap the scoring and stuff. There's nothing. You want to do better, Premiership? Fix this shit. This is basic. This is basic stuff. Like, get your website up and running so people can look at stuff from the matches. It's not hard. Why is that? Like, that should not need to be said. The fact that it needs to be said, that is a microcosm of everything right there. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, man. Anyway, it was a great match up in the Coventry, which was end up being, as we know it, probably the last for Wasps at the CBS.
Yeah.
It was absolutely wild. This was I turned on the second half because I think I was watching one of the World Cup games on my iPad, and then I tuned into this for the second half on my iPad and had the series on the TV, and then I flipped it when series ran away.
Right.
Which didn't take too long, but still. And yeah, this was totally worth the watch. Jacob Mumaga getting a red card was a huge problem for them. Obviously, that was less than ideal. Wasps started off great. They, Nizam Carr looked great. Jack Willis, obviously, so many names that are just going to be missed by this fucking league. You know,
Right?
as many as there were with Worcester, there's more with Wasps, which is sad.
There are, because they're a better club, unfortunately. Like, not unfortunately, but just that's the way it goes. Like, yeah, I mean, both Willis's, the car has come on amazing for this team.
Barbary,
and
I mean, I know he's out, but still.
Yeah, and Shields have been awesome too.
Yep.
And
Atkinson was great this match.
Yeah,
Atkinson was awesome this match, and I had to eat my hat. I was like, okay, never mind, he's good without the T. Right. Yeah, I had to eat my hat with that one. Yeah, Atkinson was great. Freaking, you got, O-Dog was back and he was looking good. And then
did he score? Yeah, he did score.
He did score. Yeah. And then you had the Saints just roar back in the last 5 minutes or something like that with 2 tries. Like, oh, so much fun. Alex Coles is a thing.
He is.
Don't deny it. He is a thing.
No, that was a sweet try he had.
Yeah, he had 2 on the day. So
right. Well, the first half one.
Was, his second half one's pretty good too.
Yeah.
So there's that. Lewis Ludlam was excellent. Truck came off the bench and he basically gave Phil Dowson the middle finger, like, fuck you, you're starting me from now on.
Yeah.
It's Bigger came off, which was less than helpful, but still, like, right. I think Fairbanks slotted in at 10 and it was no big deal. Slate home, just wheels for days. Just absolutely fantastic. And both teams played very, very well and incredibly well. And we saw Dave Ribbons return, and he knocked somebody back hard. I think it was on the final passage of play that led to their winner. But wow, just 2 really, really good teams playing open, fun rugby. And this is an advert for rugby. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see one of these teams the rest of the year. But
right. This is one of the teams that they talk about making it a spectacle. Wasps make it a spectacle, whether they win or lose. It's a fun match. It's an entertaining match. You're going to want to watch it, and
right.
You need more of that. So again, better leadership at the Prem, and you'll get that.
Fix your goddamn website.
Yeah, and fix your goddamn league.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, that's just part of it.
Yeah, that's a small part of the whole thing. Oh, is this Odendahl? Yep. Offload. Oh, God, Bassett.
I think we're watching this. Yeah, we're watching the same passage play.
There's no possible way. There's no possible way that I could tell you that we knew that. We are apparently we have not known that the whole time. We've been watching the match the same way.
Yeah.
For this whole time, there's no possible way that we knew that we were in sync with having this on in the background until just now. Oh man. Well, that's fucking disturbing in so many ways. That's disturbing in way too many ways. Oh man. All right. We'll sign off with that.
Yep.
We're gonna head over to the fantasy corner and do what we can there. We'll recap Champions League and all that good stuff. If you're not heading over there, we appreciate you stopping by. Anybody that wants to shoot us additional thoughts on, how the league can go forward, we're open. There are bad ideas, but there aren't too many of them. Let's put it that way.
Right. There's no idea that's worse than what they're doing right now.
No shit. Yeah. Feel free to shoot that over, and we can discuss next week when we have a little bit more time. But if you're heading over to the fantasy corner, we'll see you over there. But either way, we appreciate you listening, and thank you all for hanging out with us. And fantasyrugbypodcast@gmail.com. Questions, comments, concerns. We'll see you all later. Have a good one.
Later.